mind is okay. Off your mind,
Chai! Now wow, people wey suppose talk truth to power don't off mic. And if we talk, now 500,000 they go summer us, call them hate speech. But fear not, Mayegun don't come. Ingo torchlight every corner, nooks and cranny of all these bad people where they spoil our country. So my people make we laugh, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. My people make we shout, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, man of the masses, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun diary politico, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. This one not the off in mind, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Can in the touchlight every corner, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Okay, some people be they holla say they want the power. Chai, them be promise us say we go get light and power. Them hustle so they can't get the power. But now they know they do anything with the power. Every day, dollar just they get it higher power over Naira. See them talk say make we off mind, but thank God say Mayegun don't come. So my people make you loud, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. My people make we shout, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, man of the masses, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun diary politico, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. This one not they off in mind, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Poor man picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Mayegun don't come. So my people make you loud, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. My people make you shout, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, man of the masses, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. Mayegun diary politico, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo. This man not the off in mind, oh yo yo. Mayegun don't come, oh yo yo.
Many people are in the bank because many people are dying. Everything are doing. My so pressure ti wà. Mbazo Yorùbá. Gbogbo nǹkan ṣẹlẹ̀ ń lu yìí. Pressure ti wà. Èyí gbogbo ṣe sọ. Sẹ́yìn ìlú lé. Fún wa lówó wa. Ànówó wá sọ wá di lazy youth. Now ẹ sọ wá di lazy.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀.
Hello there.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun live.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Mayegun já wa sí. Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Mayegun diary.
How many times would they tell you before you know that Nigeria is not for you? Now they never leave you. They have left you behind. Photo, not be juju be that. Sorry, oh. May God not allow them, make them kill you. 70 years old.
Godfatherism.
Thank you so much for joining me. Share this broadcast. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends, and tell them Mayegun today.
Ani esunraki.
Mayegun today.
Just tell them.
Mayegun ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Lórí Facebook. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé.
If you are looking for the enemies of Nigeria, you have them in abundance, and look at what they look like.
Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Ijó ìgbádùn yẹn. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Presido bá rúfin o. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Gómìnà kówó jẹ. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Ọlọ́pàá tí ń darí pa. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin o. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Òkúra olóṣèlú. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnràkì. Àní ẹ̀ súnràkì. Mayegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú.
Mo ti dé o. Good morning to you once again. Good afternoon to you and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. And it is Mayegun Live. Every day, Nigeria politicians and those in charge of running Nigeria, they always prove people like me right all the time. Save for those who love to live in denial, especially Nigerians who love their own who love their own criminals differently. But no matter how much you try to live in denial, no matter how much you try to push the blame, no matter how much you continue to point fingers, facts will be facts and fiction will always be fiction. The enemies of Nigeria are those who have sworn to make your life hell while they smile to the bank. Unfortunately, in this case, it is actually the bank. So where were they smiling to? The Kasala is about to burst. The Dasuki Gates Part 2 is about to play out. Emefiole is about to become the fall guy for every evil that Buhari represented. Do not forget, Buhari brought in the industry of terrorism in Nigeria. Nigeria government and the Nigerian Central Bank, the intelligence community, they are unable to track terrorists who are collecting billions, hundreds of billions of naira from their victims, Nigerians, for 8 years. But the same Emefiole could track down the young people because they participated in EndSARS protest. Emefiole tagged Nigerians terrorists because they demanded for the police, to an end to the police brutality in Nigeria. Emefiole is about to be the symbol of every failure that Buhari represented. In this case, you can call it part 2, like I said, Dasuki Gates. I am somebody that some of those who love to throw the word unity. Let us come together and unite. Those weary prayer warriors that will continue to tell you that only when we continue to pray to invisible God, the Nigeria God, until then, that when he forgives us our sins, until then, as Nigerians, you can live a normal life. The prayer warriors for Nigeria and the Olori Brukus, the unity beggars. throwing all this, what do you call it? Throwing all this about and trying to make you feel like you have a thought about what is wrong with Nigeria. But for somebody like me, they call me a revisionist. I call them those who are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, living in denial, the wearies, that prefer to say, let us move on. When these criminals conspired and murdered, women, children, men, old, young, 5 million Igbos, they didn't feel ashamed about it. They didn't feel any remorse about it. They rewarded themselves. The murderers became the rulers of Nigeria. Abi, what did they tell you? No winner, no vanquish. Let us move on. Was Nigeria able to move on from that? So when people throw this around, people like us will continue to remind them, listen, you were once dancing to these criminals the same way you are currently dancing to the drug baron, Tifnumbu. So I'll take you back to memory lane. And why Emefiole, or whatever they will tell you now about Emefiole, right? All of it about Buhari's government is going to be so similar to what happened to Dasuki. If I ask you today, where is Dasuki? What then happened to Dasuki? What happened to the rest of those they arrested because of Dasuki? And what happened to the victims that they used at the time as poster reason why they were chasing Dasuki? All these questions will come back to what? Mayegun? Nothing. The whole drama, the whole noise, billions and billions that were kind of people that were mentioned. What happened to them today? What happened to all the money? Gone, Abi. Now let's go back the memory lane. And why this is Dasuki part 2. Tifnumbu and gang, they dare not touch Buhari and Buhari's criminal gang like Fashola, like Aregbemubo, like Malamu, like Adisirika, the way that gave them ordinary design for Nigeria Air, like Isa Pandemic, the communication minister, like the finance minister, like Sadiya, the Buhari's girlfriend, the one that they opened a new shop for, Ministry of Humanitarian, where 500 billion naira was shared to poor people in a space of 5 days across Nigeria. Buhari and gang won't touch all. Tifnumbu and gang won't touch them. Right. But Emefiole and his own timeline. And why a lot of you are going to be falling for all their propaganda and all the things that will follow. I'll take you back that memory lane. In 2015, when this APC, Egbekegbe, came in one of their, they said they had 3 cardinal goals. 1, to expose the sponsor of terrorism in Nigeria, arrest them and prosecute them and jail them. That if they could do that, if they do that, they were going to end their terrorism in Nigeria. Yes, that is 1. Number 2, Buhari said he was coming to fight corruption. Therefore, all of the corrupt criminals, known and unknown, they should start packing their bags because they were going to jail. That's the 2nd one. The 3rd one is economy. According to Buhari and APC, they came in to recalibrate, to revitalize, and all the funny names they used, or funny words they used, the economy of Nigeria. By once they stop corruption and they stop terrorism, the money they will get back from the corrupt people, they will invest them in Nigeria into infrastructures, into education, into healthcare. Do you see how lofty those ideas were? That's not what they did when they came in. Let's start with let's start with the security. Immediately they came in, they changed the terrorism industry in Nigeria. They changed terrorism in Nigeria, in northeast part of Nigeria. They turned it into an industry that now covered the entire Nigeria. That's on Boko Haram. On economy, where Emefiole comes from. The same Boko Haram and gang, they started something called round tripping. You know, I keep using that word for the past 7 years. I've been using that word on my program, exposing and talking about the crime that Boko Haram and gang were committing. Boko Haram's family took over Central Bank of Nigeria. But why? You remember, they wanted to fight terrorism. So immediately Boko Haram came in. Bas. Dasuki was arrested. Breaking news. Sambo Dasuki has been arrested because the money meant to fight Boko Haram was actually shared among PDP members and so many other Nigerians instead of fighting Boko Haram. And because of that, that is the reason why Nigeria was unable to defeat Boko Haram. It was an easy sell. Even those who didn't support APC, they kind of they got caught in the old trap of the propaganda. They didn't release much details though. They just said the killings that led to the end of Goodluck Egbere Jonathan was because Jonathan and his gang, they intentionally, sabotage the fight against terror with their corruption, because Dasuki shared $2 billion. The money meant for the fight against terror. How could they do that? No wonder. So the money they were supposed to use to fight Boko Haram, they shared that for election. Who will not support the fight against such? Expose them. Before you know it, they released the list, the names, and how much people collected from Dasuki, including how they collected the money, including how they used some of the money to rig election in Ekiti State. And then and other places like that. They were kind of, really, really compelling, sad stories. It was pretty much like everybody watching the scene by scene of what Dasuki did and how people died, and now Boko Haram is about to fight and end terrorism and corruption at the same time. And everybody was like, this is the change they voted for. But when people started probing, they started asking, hang on. Dasuki doesn't have access to any money. By design of his office, he doesn't have access to any money, except the ones authorized, approved by the president. Here you get. So, if Dasuki spent $2 billion meant for arms purchase, hello, what happened to the man who approved the money, Jonathan? How come you are not picking him up? Okay, hang on. Some documents started popping up. Wait till. The guy that was in charge of the Nigeria Army itinerary, the Armory. Buratai took up Buratai. Why didn't they arrest him? Because from record, all of the army record or Nigerian army record showed that Jonathan bought all of the weapons that he claimed to have bought, right? So if Dasuki stole used $2 billion with the authority of Jonathan, but another person said, no, they bought the weapons. Who is lying here? How come that one wasn't arrested? Okay, hang on. Now, let's even wait on this and ask, how did they get the money? Who gave the money? Central Bank of Nigeria released the money, including the ones they released in Naira for elections in Ekiti and then a few places, including the money they gave to Boko Haram himself. Remember when Boko Haram during the 2014-2015 election campaign and Boko Haram's convoy got attacked in Kaduna by Boko Haram. And he came out of that attack to walk around where people kind of started hailing him, hey, Sai Baba, before the election. Now, because of that incident, from the office of NSA, Dasuki, with the authorization of Jonathan, they gave the same Buhari $300,000 to fortify his own security in his own way. And they added another $630,000 worth of 2 armored SUV vehicles, $650,000. And they sent them to him so that it won't be like, now, if anything happened to him, it will be like Jonathan caused it. All of this started coming out, right? Then, before you know it, it became obvious that the intention was actually not to expose those behind Boko Haram or those who have profited from it. It was a kind of a distraction to make their base feel like they are taking decision in their interest. Okay? In that same vein, Buhari relocated the Nigeria military base to Borno to go and fight terrorism there. All of those are the initial gra-gra. Why behind the scene, corruption was going on like mad. They were destroying Nigeria to what you are now witnessing today. I will tell you. Dasuki was locked up. Femi for Food Kayode was locked up because he collected money. Reuben Abati was locked up because he collected money. Obani Koromusiliu was locked up. The old man, Olufalaye, was arrested because he collected money. A lot of people were arrested, but the people who released the money and the person who said they bought weapons and the person who authorized the money, they were not touched. Emefiole was not told to resign. Instead, they called him and said, come and teach us. How did you do all of these things? For those who remember the Sani Abacha story, Sani Abacha, when it became so obvious that Nigeria was becoming a pariah state, okay? So, Sani Abacha and his family, they turned the Central Bank of Nigeria into their own personal bank. It's like Sani Abacha's bank. So they could ask the Central Bank governor, okay, to print out money or give them forex or give them, you know what I mean? Just at will. And nobody, that Central Bank governor must not raise any wimp. So Buhari and gang, after pretending to expose a monumental corruption perpetuated by Goodluck Egbere Jolantan's government that cost lives, they decided to parley with those who actually worked things out. Hang on, come here. How did you do it? We'll talk to the Mr. President. We'll keep you. In fact, we'll renew your this thing and that. That was when Emefiole that brought Nigeria Naira down, up to 160 Naira official to $1 and 190 Naira to $1 in the black market. The Emefiole decided to play ball with criminals who pretended to come and fight terrorism and corruption by covering up for his own corruption. So all of the things they are going to tell you about Emefiole today, they are coming 8 years late after Emefiole and Buhari and the rest of the APC clan destroyed everything in Nigeria. You have no idea of the damages. But they are going to tell you very soon. A little bit of a distraction. Why they? I'll tell you that too. So, Emefiole, with God knows what policy he was operating at the time, decided to redesign the policies to suit the interest of these new criminals, Maman, Daura, and gang. So what happened? Emefiole started and he gave them the Central Bank of Nigeria's vault key. These guys became the middlemen if you want to buy any forex in Nigeria, they became the middlemen. And gradually, the micro and macro economy in Nigeria, they started crumbling. To save face, Emefiole started increasing the tax percentage in Nigeria. Things started stifling up to satisfy the greedy few in Bokuwari's government, including Bokuwari's family. Maybe now they will tell you how much Emefiole Central Bank gave in treating Bokuwari in London for all of the surgeries that Bokuwari went through in London. Maybe this time around, Tifnubu's and co, they will release the documents and how much it costs Nigeria to treat Bokuwari. So they kept him. But Emefiole, to satisfy these people, they started what now became the Buharinomics. They started cooking figures. He was telling them Nigeria was so healthy. In fact, Nigeria is not borrowing enough. If to say Nigeria want to borrow, Nigeria can, you know what I mean? And when they ran everywhere dry, Nigerians became jobless, unemployed. They are no longer paying taxes anymore. You know, when you become poorer, your government will become poorer as well. Emefiole offered them the devaluation of Naira repeatedly, that Naira will never recover. Not in another 50 years. Trust me. No, anytime soon. Forget it. While he was doing this economic sabotage, like surprise, nobody knew. Without the National Assembly approval, Emefiole started printing money for Bokuwari. We didn't know. For 3 solid years, Emefiole was printing money, and he was packaging money, like trucking money for politicians in Nigeria, state governors, Bokuwari and family, without any production to back it up. And before you know it, inflation in Nigeria skyrocketed. A bag of rice that used to be 7,000 Naira, the same 50 kg rice, inflation that eats Nigeria, now took that to over 40,000 Naira today. The economic sabotage wasn't that enough. Bokuwari then shut down Nigeria border. When they shut the border, it wasn't because they wanted to protect those who are inside, though. It was to further strangulate those who are inside economically. Nigeria went into recession several times. Emefiole was telling people, releasing data, that because PDP, that he was part of, looted Nigeria. That was why Nigeria was in recession. They were cooking figures. But Nigerians were feeling the heat. It be like, say, when you put frog inside the cold water, and you put that frog, and you put a frog in a cold pot, water, and then you put the pot on a burner. Yeah? You know, it's not going to start getting warm so immediately. So it's going to start gradually and gradually. And as usual, Nigerians, when Bokuwari and these guys, economic saboteurs, business destroyers, lives destroyers, people died because of what these guys did, right? Now, they put, the Nigerians were like a frog that were put, that were inside that cold pot and cold water, but on a very hot steamer or what do you call it, heater. So gradually, they were telling them to adjust, until it became unbearable, and many people died economically for this. But they didn't stop. When 2019 election came, Emefiole printed money, and he put that money in 2 billion vans. These 2 billion vans were sent to Lagos, Baba, and they missed their way and straight into the compound of Tifnubu. We don't know how much was printed, how much was inside the bullion van. And all of this money came from Central Bank of Nigeria. This was when they were killing Nigeria slowly, the revenue, Emefiole and gang, Bokwari and the rest, why the revenue generation of Nigeria continue to dwindle, they opened the floodgates of different rogues, including those who were stealing the crude oil of Nigeria. Billions and trillions of your Naira gone into private pockets. Call them economic saboteur. And Bokwari, who supervised all of that, was being praised by the Buhari Danes, Buhari Dideris, Buhari Denotus, Buhari Dijatus, Buhari Shukus, the Ungoziaris, Nnekaharis, the ombud slaves, sophisticated morons. They don't like me. I don't like them too. And we don't pretend. For 8 years, I was telling them about these rogues, and they were telling me that I was benefiting from PDP corruption. They did tell many of you too, when you were pointing out all this criminality at the time. They said you were complaining because you were benefiting from PDP corruption, until the majority of them lost everything. But shame will never let them come out to say, but why you destroyed us? So just now that Emefiole at the time, one of the governors spoke out. It was Obaseki of Edo. And he said, Nigeria is in trouble. In case if they are still lying to you. Nigeria is in what? Is in big, big economic trouble. That for the past 2 years, Central Bank of Nigeria has been printing money. And do you know what Emefiole used in response? Let's use that as a flashback. Yeah? He said this.
If you understand the concept of printing of money is about lending money, right? That is our job, right? To print is about saying lending money. So there's no need putting all the controversy about printing of money as if we're going into the factory printing Naira and then distributing on the street. It is very inappropriate for people to just give some coloration to the word printing of money as if it is some foreign word coming from the sky. Okay, so I think it's important for me to put it this way, that in 2015, 2016, the kind of situations we find ourselves now, which is even worse than what we faced in 2015, 2016, we did provide budget support facility for all the states of this country. That loan remains unpaid till now, and we are going to insist on the states paying back those monies going forward, since they are accusing us of giving them loans. That's what they're saying. And most countries in the world today are confronted by not only health challenges coming from the pandemic of COVID, and also economic crisis and the rest of them. And what I keep saying this, it would be irresponsible for the Central Bank of Nigeria or any central bank or any Fed to stand idle and then refuse to support its government at this time. And what is being done, right, is being done in any climb. And at the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting, I did say, and I gave data about what is being done, even in developed economies, about what needs to be done to shore up their economy and take them out of recession. Nigeria is unfortunately in a very bad situation. I'm not going to pretend about it, in the sense that we are facing problem about productivity output, which is GDP. Luckily, we managed to just come out of it with a hair's breadth, and we are working very hard to see how we can not only have our head above water, but get our waist above water. That is what we are focused on right now. And of course, we are also confronted by issues of inflation and prices and the rest of them. And so for us to begin to see that some people playing some games, trying to come up with overheating this polity, talking about printing of money, I think is very unfortunate and totally inappropriate. And I would like to advise that this should stop. We should all work for the growth of our country and not playing politics. I'm not a politician, and I keep saying so. I'm a banker, and I should be left to do my work.
Is a criminal. And you're listening. A pure criminal. When Bokwari's unfortunate government or regime came in, let me remind you of something. They said people destroying their people or people deceiving people, they've looted Nigeria, die. There was no money left. But here are a few things you should probably be told or reminded of for the sake of this chat tonight. When Buhari came in, they said about 25 states in Nigeria in 2015 were owing their workers months, some years of unpaid salaries, unpaid pension, and gratuities and few other emoluments that were not paid. It's like backlog of them. So the first thing Buhari did was to give a directive that Emefiole Central Bank should give all of the states in Nigeria, they should give them 600 billion naira. Where was that money coming from? It came from the Paris Club refund at the time. So they distributed that money to all of the states in Nigeria based on some of them that they deducted their money during the debt repayments at the time. So refund, though, they gave them that money to go and offset the salaries of workers that were unpaid. Guess what happened? The governors took the money. They chop them. 2 months after that, the same 2015, not another year, the same 2015, like 2 months after that, they went back to Buhari. So Buhari called Emefiole again to make available a facility, and facilities like loan facility of 400 billion naira for any state who is interested to come and borrow part of that money to pay off the debt, pension, everything at the time. Breaking news, Buhari released money to clear all the debt. Buhari released money to pay all the Biafran soldiers. You know that time now? Or is that too long for you to remember? Yeah, I'm going to remind you. I'm a revisionist. Okay? Because when you ask yourself, how did you arrive here? How did you arrive at this? No. We do know how we arrive here. A lot of people are feigning ignorance deliberately. Stockholm syndrome. All of that money, when they released that 400 billion, these governors applied, including Kogi and the rest, they applied for this loan to pay. Yeah, they collected the money, they shop them. People are still unpaid, salary unpaid, pension unpaid, though. Emefiole. Now, he is then referring to what one of the governors who collected that money from him, now yarning dust, who asked him to go and tell everybody that they are printing money. The money that they gave to him, Edo State, Shein don't pay him back. Shein pay all the pensioners. Did he even pay all the workers too? Now he's trying to play politics with me, Abi. I'm not a politician, but I will make all of them pay back. That's exactly what also happened when they brought about something they called Anchor's Borrowers Program. This thief, this criminal, put a package together. And that package was to take a facility from the African Development Bank so that they could support the farmers in Nigeria to grow food in order to combat food inflation and possibly reduce hunger and poverty. Good idea, Abi. But as corrupt as a corrupted criminal government that Emefiole represented, what did they do? They took a loan of 1.4 trillion naira. Yes, use naira. 1.4 trillion naira. And the money was to be accessible by farmers in Nigeria. It was taken for Nigeria. If you are a farmer in Nigeria and you want to go into large-scale farming, you will have access to that money. 1.4 trillion naira. Buhari told Emefiole that money, Anchor's Borrowers Program, 80% of it must be concentrated in northern Nigeria. Yes, he told him. If you still go online today and Google, what did Buhari tell the World Bank group that visited Nigeria in 2015 in the hope of how they can partner with Buhari's government, APC, Egbekegbe, in developing rural areas in Nigeria? Go and Google it. Buhari told the World Bank group that they should concentrate all their projects in northern Nigeria because the northern Nigeria is poorer than the southern Nigeria. They need it more. That's exactly what he told the Emefiole. So Anchor's Borrowers Program, the money they borrowed in the name of Nigeria, decided to be concentrated in northern Nigeria, just the same time they shut the border of Nigeria, but they opened the northern border for the Janjaweed terrorists from the Sahel to invade Nigeria. And guess who these guys went for? They went for all these farmers who benefited from the Anchor's Borrowers Programs. All the farms, majority of them are now in the hands of the terrorists because everything all these farmers planted, they ended up either dead or in the captivity of these terrorists. So many parts of northern Nigeria were ceded to the total control of terrorists under Buhari. I am saying this to you, right? In some part of Nigeria, insecurity got so bad that police stations are closing at 4 p.m. in the evening because for security reasons. Can you believe that? Under Buhari APC, as some areas are having their own police station closing and shutting at 4 p.m. because of for security reasons, right? Some part of northern Nigeria were completely ceded. Nigerians they were paying taxes to terrorists. So Anchor's Borrowers Program hit the rock in the areas they told to invest it in. And guess what happened? Nigeria couldn't meet up. The money they actually invested, talk less of making profits. Now, the effort of trying to crash food prices in Nigeria, reduce poverty, reduce importation of food, all of that crashed before they can even start accounting for what they spent. So that then gave Dangote the unhindered access to bring in anything and everything that they've already banned. If you dare it, your business, no matter how much they are, no matter how much connected you think you are, your business will go down the drain. Those who dared Buhari the first 2-3 years, they will tell you the story. For those who live to tell the story, they thought it was a joke, that it was only Dangote that could bring in anything, grains, sugar, what have you, into Nigeria. That became official, the monopoly. And under Buhari before COVID-19, Dangote became the richest black man on earth. Yes, his fortune tripled, while the rest of Nigeria crumbled under the excruciating economic sabotage of Buhari called Buharinomics. Remember that until COVID happened. Now, fast forward to having run the central bank aground, promoting round tripping, where businessmen, Nigeria is import-dependent nation. No matter how much Nigeria brags to the rest of Africa, it is so obvious that Nigeria is not giant of Africa in anything good. Nigeria is just a crippled giant of Africa. And those who crippled Nigeria are the kinds of these economic saboteurs, as well as the political saboteurs, those whose only agenda is to keep you on your knees. Stay on your knees. Bow on your heads. You get that? So, Emefiole and gang, they started another campaign. And that campaign was to join the gang of those who are tired of the deceit of Buhari and APC. And they said maybe they were too early. They were looking for those they could blame for why Naira and Nigeria economy was taking a serious fall. No improvement, no nothing. People were losing their jobs like never seen before. Are you with me? Nigeria economy became a ghost, a shadow of itself. So they were looking for who to blame. Who are we going to blame? Oh, hey, the PDP stored money inside this and that. Then what happened to your anti-corruption fight? How much of those money can you account for? They couldn't account for a penny of the money they started distracting you with. DSS stole $80 billion. They are going to recover the money. Oh, Buhari has recovered $10 billion. When all of those things were no longer adding up, they started blaming those who were telling Nigerians the exact exchange rate of Nigeria. Propaganda couldn't save it anymore. Everything was like at the belly low. And in one of those fights, I remember where Emefiole said, Aboki Forex. How many of you remember Aboki Forex? When they asked Emefiole what he was doing about the economy and the advice he was giving Buhari, without telling everybody the truth that they have already hijacked the Nigeria Apex Bank, Central Bank of Nigeria, and he's probably just there as a figurehead. He was making some money for himself too. Like, as they were piking the whole thing, he was making some money for himself too. So therefore, he wasn't going to lose all the way. Sure you get? So he said Aboki Forex, Abi Aboki FX, was the one sabotaging the Naira dollar exchange. Emefiole signed off on Nigeria taking $10 billion that APC didn't save. They didn't generate the money. But Emefiole and gang and their finance minister, they signed up and they took $10 billion from the Nigerian foreign reserve and they handed it over to China in exchange for yuan, because they told the Mughals in Nigeria they were going to crash dollars in Nigeria by making a deal with China so that they can have yuan in Naira. At the end of the day, at the yuan, at the dollar, at the Naira, Nigerians ended up buying Naira with Naira under these criminals. That's how worse it became. Nigerians were using Naira to buy Naira in the same Buharinomic. So as usual, it was bragging in one of those brag. Anybody that doesn't agree with what we are doing, say you want to fight, come outside. Let us fight. Emefiole.
Those who feel they want to support him, to fight me, come out. Let's fight.
You remember that time? All of these things that I'm telling you, some of them may sound funny to you. I am telling you something that people were actually like dying. The amount of people who were committing suicide, the number of people who committed suicide under Buharinomics in 8 years because of the economic downturn under these criminals has never been seen before in the history of Nigeria. It became so much that Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos was a regular place. Every 2 days, and it's like every AK day. Somebody could don't jump inside the river. Grown-up men and women who have lost everything. Women who were doing fine before APC, Egbek came in, doing their legitimate businesses. They shut the border. They shut their businesses. There were no real help for them. While Buhari and gang, they were making themselves comfortable with every available money and everything they could get at the time. So they were blaming everybody, but nobody was being kind of convicted for real. Suddenly, people will won't fight corruption. They don't do dinner with the corrupt people. We then for once told us, so see corrupt people, see people who destroy Nigeria, see enemy of Nigeria. Suddenly, and then they see for dinner, they laugh, they see all of that. And their ombuds slaves, sophisticated morons on social media, shame will not let them say, they don't do pause. Remember, Dasuki was in prison because Dasuki stole 2 billion. Now, fast forward to when a scandal actually broke out. What was the scandal? It was when the hands of this thief was caught in the cookie jar. All of his mouth were glossy of the cookie. The crumbs from, you know what I mean? Sahara reporters tapped this. It is also a reminder of what Emefiole was involved in sabotaging Nigeria with the approval of Buhari. It's still a flashback. We never get to today's story yet.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
The network, sir.
Oh my God. Let me talk to him.
Hold on the line, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So, can we think of anywhere across both heads where we can, push things, either move things from cash CAD or some other places, bring it back, or you understand, or delay any of those?
I'm looking at it. The maximum that I can negotiate is 20 billion on CI that I will just tell them that, because that is the one that we've not paid, that we've accrued for. So, because I've looked at the account, that is the...
On the cash account due?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is 18, because I say 18 for, then there's this 2 billion, which are not material for something to be done for EFCC, that I said they've taken it as accrued. So that's the maximum we can get from expenses.
Is there any other vote head where you can find?
See, I've gone through all the voters here. I know material, at least my personal expenses is just increased by 1 billion over last year, and I think we can't go into that place. My other operating.
Now, what's our shareholders fund?
It's 34.
Yeah?
34 billion. 34.
You can see it will take our shareholders fund into negative. That's another problem. Wow. Hey.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm with the DG and KJ as well.
Yeah, let me talk to the DG. Yeah, let me talk to the DG.
Okay.
I didn't know they were there. Yes.
Yes. Hello, sir.
No, Edward, I didn't know that you were there with 2KG.
No, I'm there. We're here with
Yes. Man.
We are cracking our brains, Governor. We were thinking of all available options.
Because shareholders funds of 34 billion, if we put this number there, to take our shareholders funds to negative, which is dangerous.
To negative? Yes. No. We can't do that one, Governor. That would be dangerous.
What do we do?
God. The wild thought that came is that can we get the finance ministry to agree to take some off, even if it's just for the record?
How can they take it now? Take what now, precisely?
Even if it's just to do some book work.
But they cannot. That will expose us to them.
Because that's the only area. All these other areas.
Okay, what do we want finance to do in this case?
Well, the thought was that maybe if they can just, we do some discussion with them, they just write saying that, okay, government will, but it has to maybe appropriated or something. Some document that will do that.
They can't try that because without National Assembly and government, they have to go to Federal Executive Council to do that.
They have to go to Federal Executive Council.
Wow. Damn it.
Wow. Because, I don't know. I even said we should look at our intervention, but there's nothing much we can do there. I don't have an intervention. That will not work. I don't know.
Wow.
We can't afford negative at all.
Yeah?
We cannot afford deficit, Governor. No way. We have to talk for balance.
How do we get out of this is the issue? Because the auditors themselves will be very careful because, they don't want they will not want because they have people who are reviewing their accounts. They are superiors outside the office reviewing their accounts.
Exactly. They also, they have their names and their own governance process. Why not allow them to even do some of these things? Wow. Tough one. Hold on for OKJ.
Yeah.
Governor, sir.
Yes.
We are thinking of all the options. I think we are because the Omo aspect, which is the bulk,
Yes. To be stuck. Yes, because the money has been paid and banks have recognized that amount in their income. Yeah. And naturally, the debtors will also ask for confirmation to confirm this one. And because initially I thought we had about 150 billion, which was what was paid in December. Then the initial thought was to look at which were the heavy banks that bought into that. But maybe pick them, but also realize that they also have their end of year at December. So they will have recognized that. And I was just asking Mr. Arowishega about their exchange rate gain. The rate they use for this year, they said it's already 364, which is already very high.
Yes.
Because if not, if we were to be some lower, we have thought we have increased that close of maybe by just 1 naira or 2 naira, that will change the whole thing.
Because the first time in history, part is written balance sheet in negative shareholder for that big bad.
No. We thought about that because we were looking at how much the revenue is. Because the issue will be that we made so much revenue of such amount and we spend the whole thing. So where did we get the money that we were spending if we make? No, we have to. We'll go through it and see how to. Not going to work. Not at this time. Not. We keep cracking our braces. No. We are still looking at now. So far, we will be able to see to about 20 billion, which is this kind. Which he said he still has to discuss with the. Yeah. So after 20 billion, how much will be left? It's up to 100, 120, 110. 110, that is still a lot. Because this means we need at least a minimum of 115 or 112 for it to move from negative to surplus.
God.
Yeah. Because let's keep this from Governor. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
You heard all of that, Abi? Yeah, that was a scandal that they came out later to say, of course, they were just discussing how to balance the sheet, how to balance account. That is not a new thing. But 120 billion naira is missing, and they were looking for ways to get that, like a closing. Should they increase the naira exchange rate by 1 naira or 2 naira? If they do that, that will automatically give them what they need. But that's going to be a bad news because the money exchange was already over, was almost 400 naira at the time. At the official rate, not black market. Imagine what it was in the black market at the time when they were having this chart in 2018 or so. So, that Emefiole, that everybody have seen that as Bokwari's ATM, suddenly just surprised all of us. They say Emefiole want to be president. That must be a joke. No, that can never happen. What do you mean? Central Bank Governor of Nigeria paid 100 million naira to buy APC presidential form. It is over. How many of you remember that time when we were always like, it's finished? Central Bank Governor, where you have the president, and he gave APC 100 million naira. They collected the money. They gave him form. They were started now denying whether he was the one who bought it or whether now people buy him for him. 100 million naira. And Bokwari didn't call him immediately. I said, you the craze? You the mental? Which kind of freedom be this? Which kind of audacity be this? You won't spoil my arrangini. They allowed him until this lady told us he has the right to be the president because he's a Nigerian and he's blah, 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 blah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Benigna Ejimba, the Director of Communications, Emefiele Support Group, ESG. We noticed the statement issued by the PDP governors calling on Dr. Godwin Emefiele to resign following the fear of his entry into the presidential race. The statement alleges that Dr. Emefiele is involved in the campaigns for his presidency and is doing so with the national vote. We in the ESG would like to ask the PDP governors to get their facts right and should stop crying like babies, even when Emefiele has not accepted the pressure to run. Campaigns calling on Dr. Emefiele has nothing to do with the CBN governor or the CBN funds. These are merely voluntary groups like us that have no connection with the CBN governor. We know that the governors are already scared that Dr. Emefiele will give them a good run for their money if he decides to heed our call and contest, which is why they have switched into panic mode and are looking for a way to scare him from joining the race. They should, however, know that we have their dossier. We know what they do with their local governments and state allocations. We know what they do with monies meant for small-scale businesses in their states. It is quite sad that the CBN governor, who has shown nothing but goodwill by initiating and advancing bailout funds to help them pay salaries and improve productivity where they have failed to do so, is now a subject of their smear attacks just to discourage him from entering the race. They have been having sleepless nights since they heard of our clamor for Dr. Emefiele to join the race. Emefiele expectedly has now become a political nightmare to PDP, even when he's not yet in the race. Knowing the capacity of the CBN governor, being the party to have discovered him, they should then be ready for a humiliating defeat should he decide to run for presidency. Thank you.
Nigeria is so corrupt, which I regret the day I was born in this country. It's unfair. This is unfair now. This is unfair. Nigeria is so corrupt, which I regret the day I was born in this country. It's unfair. This is unfair now. This is unfair. Nigeria is so.
Did you hear that? That happened. It happened. And everybody was just looking like, oh, Nigeria don't finish. Nigeria to finish. I know some of you who actually felt like that when you saw the breaking news. Because that's how I felt. I was like, oh, Nigeria to finish. Nothing is normal anymore. Sure you get. And then Abija, Warabi Ekun. They decided to punish the entire Nigeria. How many of you remember that Ikpadabo Abija? Ikpadabo Abija was something to say the return of Abija. You get that? They decided to throw the entire Nigeria under the bus by recoloring the Naira. Really? Recoloring the Naira. Yes, we want to battle those who want to use money to buy election. And so then carry the entire Nigeria mugu. Millions of people's lives. Were also destroyed. So many of them have not recovered till now. So, when they decided to recolor the Naira, it was Buhari who said, it is a done deal, if you all remember, just before the election, because everything Emefiole did, Buhari approved.
So, this change of currency, I think there will be people a lot of money. But time has been given from October to December, 3 months. Is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it.
So despite the complaint, there's no going back on the policy?
No, there's no going back. There's no going back. My aim is to make sure that Nigerians believe that we respect them as an administration.
It is smoke Igbo. It is take Indian. It is smoke Igbo. It is take Indian.
To show to Nigerians that they respect them, no going back. We don't want people to use money to buy election. We don't want blah, 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 and the nonsense. That was when the wahala became APC versus APC. That was when Tifnumbu and his group, they took it personal. Just the same way Buhari took the coup of 1985 very personal. Because the person that led the people who arrested him and the one who was like in charge of his detention was no other person than Sambo Dasuki. So it was personal for him. But you see, last few months, when Kalu came out and he said, Eba gbepo pamo, Eba gbe Naira pamo, ama dibo, ama wole. That was when it became personal. Emefiole, they automatically agreed or concluded Emefiole is being used by Buhari or Buhari's cabal to stop Tifnumbu from winning election. In fact, that is why there is a fuel scarcity, Naira scarcity, and it became a campaign. Yes, it must be like they did it for him. They must have done it. They must. But why they are all arguing, whether the whole thing is against Tifnumbu or not, businesses of people, they were crumbling like cards. Some of them are watching me today. No, so this time last year, they had businesses. Nobody said they didn't get too much big, but they had businesses. But you see, between September and March, September 2022, March 2022, with Emefiole and Buhari, they destroyed so many people's businesses and lives. And I can tell you this, if we stay longer this evening, you go hear people who go come tell you the testimony, how that thing affected them until today. We saw elderly people crying in the bank. They said they have to endure. They needed to endure because Buhari was fighting for them. Listen to it again, because it was actually part of the clip. Again.
So this change of currency, I think there will be people a lot of money. But time has been given from October to December, 3 months is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it.
So despite the complaint, there's no going back on the policy?
No, there's no going back. There's no going back. My aim is to make sure that Nigerians believe that we respect them as an administration. So Nigerians should vote for whoever they like from whichever party. Nobody will be allowed to mobilize resources and thugs to intimidate people in any constituency. That's what I want to go down into Nigerian history for as a leader.
You are the chairman of the Presidential Campaign Council of your party. What are the chances of your party winning the elections?
What are the chances of my party not winning the election? We are going to win this election.
Àtisẹ́tẹ́ àti ń parọ́ tipẹ́ àtisẹ́tẹ́ tìtó òdìmú òdodo òsìmọ́ àtisẹ́tẹ́ kágbádé fáláre àtisẹ́tẹ́ kágbẹ̀bí fáláre àtisẹ́tẹ́ adájọ́ ń parọ́ torí owó àtisẹ́tẹ́ òṣèlú ń parọ́ nítorí ipò àtisẹ́tẹ́ èdò gbówó mìtẹ́ àtisẹ́tẹ́ tìjàǹgì aráàlú àtisẹ́tẹ́.
So that was one of the bobo that encouraged the obedience in particular, believing that Buhari and Emefiole could probably be on their side for the first time. How many of you felt like that? Don't lie. Some of you even said, the Naira exchange, Naira change, you can go, no going back. You stand by Buhari on this and Emefiole because you thought they were targeting those who were going to use thugs and money. What later happened? They ended up still using thugs and money and INEC. That video, if you go and check it online, go and check the Buhari's interview, December 2022. It was in London, in that video. Go and it will be one of the most viewed video of this election. They are charade that they completed. Because we were like, yes, it's like Buhari. Because politicians were complaining. His own party members, governors, they were lamenting. This thing is going to affect us. Oh, we are going to lose election. Oh, they took him to court. So a lot of people felt like, maybe Buhari wanted to leave a legacy. You remember that? I'm so sorry that a lot of you actually felt duped. Okay. Or you know better now, Abi. Shebi, you know better now. I still know some of you. There will be some of you who will still believe that Buhari meant well. He wanted to do good. but they override him. I know some of you will believe that. Because you couldn't believe what happened in that charade. After you have followed it so much, and suddenly you could see the politicians crying every day. Even go fall, while I go day, blah, 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 blah. And Buhari was taking a stand. We no going back. I say, maybe Buhari won't do something good. Osita, they here. Sorry that I call you out to share you guys, because I remember you personally told us here that even though you don't trust them, but you would like to give them a benefit of doubt that just maybe Buhari actually meant well this time around. I said, do you actually believe that? And you said, yes, you did. But look at it today. I'm talking about this mad period, though, where things were happening so fast. I was like, don't get carried away. These people. Obviously, I knew what would happen, though. Sure you get. Oh, sorry. Obviously, I knew how things go happen, though. But I knew what would happen, if you remember, right? Now, today, when that now got to the edge, they now said the Supreme Court call, they will now listen to Supreme Court. Around that time, there were already rumors that Tifnumbu and crew, who have already infiltrated but whoever was buyable around Buhari and then everywhere, he don't do that. The DSS was already kind of listening to him indirectly. Because somehow, the DSS in Nigeria, Daura Secret Service, that is working for Buhari, suddenly declared Central Bank Governor of Nigeria wanted. Abeti Bagbe, you don't forget that DSS declared Emefiole wanted. Have you forgotten that Emefiole went for a bankers seminar abroad and in America, and they failed to return to Nigeria because they said the DSS was looking for him until they told him he could return. Buhari will not let them arrest him. And immediately, Emefiole landed in Nigeria. You remember that video? And those who came to pick him at the airport in order for DSS not to arrest him. Remember? So now then they tell us, say, Oma Shewon. Now you, that was the beginning. That was when they took it personal. Now, let's now fast forward to when Emefiole was called. This time around, they are now going back. A flashback.
The truth is this, we are all servants. We are serving Nigerians. As far as I'm concerned, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation has spoken on this matter, and the President has sealed the whole of the issues this morning in his broadcast. And I think I can only just appeal to Nigerians, let's allow this policy to work. This policy is one policy that goes to solve the problem of reducing corruption and illicit financial flows. This policy goes to resolve some of the problems in the economy. This policy also goes to reducing the level of insecurity in the country. So these three issues, which are the tripod of this administration's policy, are all embedded in this policy. We should just allow it to work. We keep saying this. There are some temporary pains, but I can assure Nigerians that the long-run benefit to Nigeria is overwhelming, and we should just give it a chance to work.
Wish. You get wish. You get wish. Wish that is blood body. You get wish.
Yes.
Because witchcraft join this your own. I'm not sure say we'll go do deliverance for you. You get wish.
That was the sale line. Nigerians should just let this policy work. So Nigerians started saying, Emefiele, Emefiele, Ogungo kill you, Emefiele, and all of that. Because even after election, new Naira, no day. But Emefiele was still telling them, they just need to make this thing work. This guy stole money. They wanted to steal money from dead people. Dormant accounts. If you left Nigeria, and you left money in your Naira account, by now you have zero there. I don't care how much you left. Maybe you're a millionaire and you left a lot of money. Yeah? And if that account, you left it for about 5-6 years, they believe that you are dead. So they call your account dormant. When they check, they said there is this sitting 7 trillion Naira in Nigerian dormant accounts. It may be that your money you left 10 years ago. You better go and check. First bank account, Go and check. Emefiole and gang, they started selling fake bonds to take money from people and say government will give you more money in so years. We need the money. They scraped everywhere. But they were telling people, say that one no be winch. You know be winch. Now tell somebody, tell one Lagos Abobaku beside you that you are not going to fall for all of this propaganda. You have seen it before. At the end of the old drama, it was all a charm. Exactly the same thing they are planning to do with Emefiole. Now, let's move forward. Because at this point, it be like say, sometimes, once in a while, twice, Connie, twice. A broken clock can be very correct. In this case, when you call people thief, it's not like Boko Haram. It's not like a Tifnumbu. Others pretty much take it personal. Orji Uzor Kalu was crying today. I'm going to show you that at some point. However, I think we should remain in that asshole rock. Because you know what happened? After the whole thing, Emefiole returned to Nigeria, like I said. After returning to Nigeria, he received protection under Boko Haram. Tifnumbu and gang, they played along like, don't worry, we are friends and all of that. Then the report came. Remember that Emefiole requested to go on study leave. And Boko Haram has given him approval that he could go. But somehow, Tifnumbu and gang, they made him comfortable. When they were negotiating with NLC because of subsidy removal, they invited him there. When they are meeting with the oil marketers, they invited him there. They made him believe that he's part of the team, like he's part of the men. The people they want. Who came for the menu. He didn't know that he is the menu. So since they can't touch those who publicly stole, like Emefiole is now going to be the Pandora box. And just like Dasuki gates, you will begin to hear those they will use as your distraction. Those who collected money. They are already saying that Emefiole, they said he currently has over 80 trillion Naira. Remember that this is the stock trade of APC. But see Alaji, Emefiole. Now, private jets, they take arrest Emefiole. And that was last night. So, you know what the Daura Secret Service said, or Dr. Most Stupid Service said? They said Emefiole was driving himself all over Lagos to avoid arrest. Like, he didn't stay in one place. He was in a car and he was driving and driving and driving and driving. And they believed that Emefiole was planning to drive himself and escape from Nigeria. You are going to hear more ridiculous stories. Oh. You are going to see pictures where they will say Emefiole bought houses here. He bought houses there. He has 100 billion naira, $100 billion. All of those are just going to give you the vibe of Dasuki Gate 2. So you can call this one Emefiole Gate 2 or Dasuki Gate Part 2. But episode Emefiole and the other thieves. You know what? When they now arrested him, you know what they said? The DSS arrested Emefiole for terrorism. Should be money is what we have been talking about since for over 1 hour. I've been talking about money they stole and mismanaged and all of that. Abi? DSS arrested Emefiole for treason, that he deliberately sabotaged Nigeria economy. And that is why you all lost your jobs. 143 million of you fell into poverty. Terrorists took over Nigeria. It was because of Emefiole. They said, when Emefiole decided to contest for president, when he failed, he decided to destroy Nigeria. According to them, they said Emefiole started using the rest of the money he wanted to use for election. He gave the money to IPOB. Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, or should I say Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped from Kenya as far back as July 1st. If you remember, this was May 2021. Yeah? Emefiole said he wanted to be president of Nigeria sometimes in November 2022. But the Daura Secret Service, they said Emefiole was using the money he wanted to use for his presidential ambition, is using the money to sponsor unknown gunmen and IPOB. As a flashback, when they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to celebrate the trophy, Malamu, the Attorney General of Nigeria then, had to broadcast or make the announcement in Hausa, not in Igbo, not in Yoruba, not even in English that all of you will understand, but in Hausa, which means we got there. At the time, a flashback.
Zargin da ake masa kamar da aka mata a sama. Ina mai sanar da ku cewa bayan ainihin ya tsallake beli ya ci gaba da ɗaukar matakai na ainihin tunzura al'umma domin su wa ƙasa zagon ƙasa ta hanyar amfani da kafofi na yada labarai da suka hada da talabijin, rediyo da kuma amfani da yana gizo akan wannan domin ganin cewa ainihin an tada zaune tsaye a Najeriya. Kamar da kuka sani, bayan ya tsallake wannan beli har ila yau ya ɗauki matakai na ainihin harzuka al'umma musamman a ɓangare kudu maso gabashin Najeriya, wanda a sanadiyar haka an samu hasarar rayuka, dukiyoyi, rayukan al'umma farar hula, rayukan al'umma da suka hada da sojoji da abubuwan da ke da ayyuka da ke da nasaba da aikin kaki, haɗi da hasarar rayukan ainihin jami'an tsaro da kuma ainihin hallaka dukiyoyi da kuma ainihin wuraren ayyuka.
When they were using Emefiole to loot Nigeria, they probably didn't see him as Igbo then. They didn't call him as an Igbo man. They didn't say he's an Igbo man, even though he's not Igbo, by the way. But anyway, he wasn't seen as one. He had no connection with Igbo land. None of the money that they were all stealing and looting could be said to have been used in any part of Igbo land or anybody from Igbo land benefiting from that. But when they wanted to scapegoat him, to take the fall, to make it sound better, they said Emefiole has been using central bank money to fund unknown gunmen. Remember when they said good luck Egbere Jolantan? I mean, it wasn't like it was El Rufaya who said the terrorism in northern Nigeria was actually sponsored by Jonathan in order to reduce their population in the north. Yes, he said that. When Dasuki was arrested, as much as they are attacking Jonathan, attacking everybody, and Dasuki was in detention, the likes of the rest of them, they continued to kind of shield him. It was more or less like Jonathan's government was actually funding terrorism against them. No be so. So same thing you're going to hear in the next few days. Stories upon stories, a lot of things. And all of these are just to make you think Tifnubu is doing something so new. Others are already, if you don't know this, they have already paid influencers, by the way. And you are going to begin to see on social media posts that will be praising Tifnubu. Tifnubu, me, if I don't like Tifnubu before, the arrest of this Emefiole just make me believe that it's come with action. They said the same thing when Dasuki was arrested, remember? Because Emefiole is going to be the key into how Buhari himself should end up in jail. Isn't that a tall dream? Because a lot of you are still living in denial, Abi. Don't worry. So, going forward, they are now, there are already people from Agbo. They said this thing is tribal. The arrest of Emefiole is tribal. It's a tribal attack. It's an ethnic profiling that they are targeting the people of Agbo and the people of Delta. Meanwhile, Emefiole probably didn't give a damn or a toss about the lives of those who are in Delta states, who became victims of the same Buharinomics until now. And I told you, that's when they play the tribal card now. What about Buhari? What about other people? Why are you not arresting them? Why are you arresting our own? We know that he did something bad. That's why I said Nigeria will never work. And there's always going to be that state of your life where you're going to be like, well, it's true now. Are you going, it's true now? Is the Fulani now? This Fulani, this and that. They have you. Some of you don't know that they actually have a control over you. The moment you begin to look at all of this from your tribal, ethnic lenses, trust me, they have you. These are a bunch of criminals showing drama. It is the turn of Emefiole. Let them deal with themselves. Don't turn around and begin to say, it's not because I support Emefiole, but why are they doing that? Hide your bias a little bit, because I know how it works. Some of you are pretty much like, yes, he deserves whatever comes to him, but if they are not going to arrest other people too, then it's just pure attack on the Igbos, attack on the Southerners, attack on the Christian, attack on this and that. They have you. You can begin to say it's an attack on your whatever you want to associate with, but the bottom line is this: at Emefiole, at Tifnubu, at the rest of them, except they destroy themselves, a lot of you will do everything to save them based on whatever connection you have with them. I'm not judging you. I just feel like you shouldn't continue to hide that bias when it's so open that you all will love your criminals differently. At least no be your man, no be the first criminal. I be him be the first. She na him be the only criminal. How come now only him? Why they no pick another person? My ego, I know what I'm saying. My ego, you don't get what I'm saying. I get you, Baba. I said it is a very simple definition. Nigerians love their criminals differently. when somebody begin to say, even though I don't support them, even though I don't support this person, but I just thought that, don't hide it. Own it, because they own you. Now, going forward, right? 2 rogues from Kano. Are you with me? 2 rogues. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can say Fulani are targeting Igbo. Of course, that's a statement of facts. But when you say that because of Emefiole, you are hiding your own deceit. Emefiole is not an example of you to say Fulanis or Northerners are targeting Southerners. Don't ever do that. A lot of you do that easily, and you probably don't even see it as an endorsement of their crime. Yes, wherever their policies and economy and everything affects the ordinary people, yes, you can talk about targeting. We have evidence of that. Igbo's profiling in Nigeria is an unwritten edict or unwritten decree in Nigeria. It's not hidden. But when you look at that profiling, those who are profiling the Igbos and those who are enabling the profiling of Igbos in Nigeria, you will see the Igbos among them. So if one of those criminals now fall out of favor with all their criminal gang from Yoruba land, from the southwest, from northern Nigeria, why would you now say they are targeting Igbos because of those the criminals? Why would you say that? How could you try to give that privilege to that criminal simply because criminals are dealing with them? I'm just saying, but some of you don't see it as you don't see it like that, which is fine. Do you get that now? You don't give excuses for these criminals and say because the Yoruba criminals are targeting the Igbo criminals or targeting the Ijo criminals or Ijo criminals are targeting Fulani criminals or Hausa criminals. They are targeting the other criminals from other places. And then you suddenly feel like it's not because I support them. I don't support them. But we all know that if he is a northerner now, they will not do this to him. Why are you feeling sorry for them? I'm not feeling sorry for them, Mayegun. I'm just trying to say, Eko Shidanu. Stop pretending. You don't get it. You love your criminals differently. It is the same thing with others too when they say, but it's not that bad now, Mayegun. Because if it is not affecting them, probably it is not happening. There are Nigerians like that, a lot of you like that, who are like, if that thing is not happening to me, I see they feed my family, me, I thank God, though, I've never owed any school fees, so God has been blessing my family. We have no problem, no matter how bad Nigeria gets, me and my family will never beg in Jesus' name. Because it's not happening to you. Then maybe it's not that bad. Okay, maybe people are not that poor. At least if people are poor, you will know now. Shebi, you will know. At least yourself, you are helping poor people around you. And it is normal. It's almost the same thing. You have all these criminals everywhere. There are many of your elites who are part of this gang called establishment. They are the criminals running the system. And you know why they have succeeded and survived this long? Because Nigeria is a crime scene that indeed protects criminals. When they are ready to to sacrifice any of them, don't jump there and start saying, why is it that it's only the Yorubas? Why is it that it's only why is it that? Come on. Anyway, like I said, I just thought I should say that because we have these 2 criminals from Kano. One of them is called Kwakwanso. Are you with me? Kwakwanso and Gandola, the Babariga mobile banking CEO. Now, Kwakwanso and his gang, they have done shege in the last 2 weeks to Gandola and his political fraud, his fraudulent political establishment in Kano. Remember, you are the victims of any of their decisions and policies. Remember that. And you can begin to say, and I love that guy, and I love this and that too. That's your business. But when they finally had a chance of talking, there's been this kind of back dealing and all that, which has now brought Kwakwanso as the favorite. They said Kalu is kind of more comfortable, or Kalu's people are more comfortable discussing with Kwakwanso. And that is a betrayal, kind of a betrayal thing to Gandola. Now, Gandola felt like he gave everything in supporting and bringing Kalu to power. That is Setif Numbu. And he deserves all attention, even though he didn't deliver as expected. He was overpowered by the Kwakwansias. Some of you probably should remember this in case if you don't. Gandola was Kwakwanso's deputy governor when Kwakwanso was governor of Kano. In 2015, Gandola was the governorship candidate endorsed by Kwakwanso as the incumbent governor. So when Kwakwanso left, he handed over to Gandola. And the first thing Gandola did, he went after Kwakwanso. Cut the long story short, Kwakwanso left APC and then started an ANNPP. And then they chased the Gandola out of Kano government house. And then they are almost chasing him out of favor with Kalu. So this clash, the media now ask them, see, you, Kwakwanso, every time Gandola go talk, he go talk, say, you don't deserve that. This attention we Kalu they give you, you don't deserve them. And Kwakwanso was like, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story. Now, story Kwakwanso talk, inside the same villa, Gandola did there. And Gandola said, I heard that he's in this villa, but I haven't seen him. If I have seen him, I would have given him a slap. Kwakwanso leti oga, that's how serious that's how clownish these criminals are. Well, in their own words, though, Channels Television, owns the credit to this clip. Let's listen. Kwakwanso.
Now, you see, we are all politicians, and I'm sure you know how strong we are in Kano. The former governor, who is in our league now, former governors forum, is a member of our forum now, was our member, one of the senior members of Konkosia in Kano. He was my deputy governor in 1999. In 2003, when I was appointed Minister of Defense, he was my SA in the Ministry of Defense. After we finished in 2007, I came to this very villa to ask my brother, also somebody who was of class 1999, Umar Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory, and I appealed to him to give him job, because the job I had was NDDC, which was not enough at that time to make him my SA. So he was given the executive secretary of the Chad Basin Commission with headquarters in N'Djamena. That's 2007. 3 years after that, I invited him when I got ticket to resign and come and join me again. He resigned from his appointment to be my deputy again. And we won the election, 2011-2015. In 2015, because I wanted inclusive government, all our members to be together, I said, okay, take. And he became the governor of Kano State. And since then, you could see what happened in Kano. In fact, he had to stop me from going to Kano for 3.5 years. I was in the Senate. I couldn't visit Kano. Even the security, at that time, the police especially wrote letters to me that I should not go to Kano. And I stayed in Abuja for 3.5 years. Now, all those things are history now. I think where we are is the issue of demolition. You see, many people don't know politics. People don't understand us. But the question somebody should ask, especially those who saw the crowd in Kano on the 29th of May, is why are the people of Kano really in love with our position, with our members of Konkosia? Because at the time of election, we had no federal government, he had. We had no state government, he was the governor. We had no state assembly, chairman of local governments, 44, he owned them, and 484 councillors. We had no contractor, we had no plot to give anybody, nothing, zero. And they brought everything, they put everything on the table to win that election. And they lost, just like they did in 2019. That time they had somebody to impose him. And this time around, this my senior brother here is a Democrat. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Even though I know he helped him in a way, being a member of his party, but he lost the election. So, having said that, I want to say that what is happening in Kano is one solid and concrete promise that the governor made, that any building within government institutions, he will demolish them. Not plots, not anybody's house, any property in government premises, he would demolish them. And you see, on that, we saw even many people dying. If you go to Kano on the 29th of May, so many people lost their lives, even on that day, to bring this change to Kano. Now, so far...
So that's the short story. Gandola and Kwakwanso. But it won't be fair if we don't hear from Gandola too, before I will add my own comments. Babaringa, mobile banking CEO of Kano, ladies and gentlemen.
If we cannot respect what a previous government has done, to consider it illegal without going through due process, how can we administer public like that? So these are the issues with the cliff. It's not a hearsay. We have the thing going on. People are abusing the government now. Those who can speak Hausa, we can put the clip for you to hear what they are saying. And unfortunately, some of their members are even affected. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, that is what took me to Mr. President, and I have briefed him adequately on this. I have spoken with the IGP. I have sent the clip to IGP. IGP is aware of this. They are still, in fact, he even made a press statement they will continue demolishing Konkoso himself. Not even the governor. The governor is not even talking because he's a stooge. And from inside information we have, he's not even happy. I know he's in the building, but we have not met. Probably if we met, maybe I could have slapped him.
He could have slapped him. That's somebody who sold government land, government properties as scraps. Schools, they will sell the playing ground. Playing ground where they call the heat in some places in Kano. They started selling the land around them and they are building shopping malls. And guess those who were buying the properties? Either himself, his son, a member of his government, or those who are the contractors in his government. And it was so ridiculous, right? That the person who is demolishing right now, truthfully, has no other excuse to give in doing that. It just went on like they built all these things on government lands. This criminal built a building in Kano, a supposed government building, 450 million naira. That was how much he paid. And he sold it to his son. Listen to this. 10 million naira. In Kano. Maybe an exaggeration, Sha. But ridiculous money when they release all those things there. And he said, if I have seen him in this place, I heard he's in the building So he went to Kalu to go and tell Kalu that, Mrs. President, you will need to do something. You need to help us. So everything that I did, these guys are undoing them. And that's exactly what he also did to Kwakwanso. Now, here is the picture I want you to see. Look at these guys. They have been like recurring decima in Kano's politics. Since I have known about Nigeria politics and Kano, I've known about 3 people. At least after, what's that man's name again? Oh, yeah. And he came now and he just went. But anyway, I'll remember. Rimi. After Rimi's time, do you know about Obasanjo's time, yeah? You'll be hearing about Rimi, Abubakar Rimi. Then you had Bafarawa. You have Kwakwanso. Then you have Bafarawa. Then you have Kwakwanso. Then you have Gandola. And now you have the Kwakwansi, which is an indirect or third term for Kwakwanso as his own stooge, is now governor. For 24 years, a lot of those who grew up in Kano, they have known all these criminals all their lives. These 3 criminals or these 2 criminals, they've known them all their lives. You know that Bafarawa own, Now that one collected, collected 6 billion or something for prayer so that they can offer prayer for Jonathan to win election in 2015. That one collected 6-point-something billion from Dasuki. That's how much you know about Kano. Bunch of rogues and criminals. But guess what? The victims are the millions of people in Kano. When these criminals clashes and they do what they are doing right now, those who are going to be the victims, overall victims, are the people of Kano. I know you're going to tell me, no, Kwakwanso is better. Gandola built road and bridges. But yet, none of them is interested in building any human capacity or human, doing something called human development. It's about building roads and building bridges. Because that's exactly where they are making their money, you will say. Anyway, when they see themselves and slap themselves, trust me, I will be one of the people to bring it to you and show you. Yeah, okay? Now, let's go to the next one. Now, this next one is about Orji Uzor Kalu. I don't know if you have seen it, yeah? They were doing a valedictory session today for the senators or National Assembly members. And it was the turn of Orji Uzor Kalu. As Baba can cry, you say, everybody, they call me thief. Call me thief, here and there, thief. I have businesses. There's nothing money can buy that I couldn't afford before I became governor. I had businesses here, I had businesses there. People will not get any source of income, will not get any business at all. They are pressing them. They are, you know what I mean? Like, and these guys are flaunting wealth that they can't even explain from where they get it from. But he that worked hard in all his life, they are now calling him a thief, a thief, a thief. Orji Uzor Kalu, you stole 104 billion naira from Abia State. You and your mother. That is why they call you a thief. You got sent to jail for it. You said it was your enemy that decided to plot against you and punish you. You are a thief. But for the first time, I never believe politicians actually hate it or kind of, it's painful when you call them thieves. After watching this video, make it a convenient thing for yourself. When you see the criminals in Nigeria or anywhere their names are mentioned, call them thieves. Uzor Kalu cry, Baba. See cry of a billionaire.
And when Mr. President, Deputy Senate President, my colleagues, I want to start by thanking all of you for being brother's keeper. Mine will be a little bit emotional because when I had problems in these chambers, I know that most of you stood behind me. And I want to thank, I have to mention a few senators. I have to thank Mr. President. I have to thank Senator Amusu, Senator Alero, Senator Goje, Senator Yahaya Abdullahi, and my deputy. Why I'm thanking them is that these people were with me throughout during the problems. And I thank the Vice President because he was coming to see me every week. Mr. President, today is the beginning of new friendship to all of us in the chambers. It's not the end of the old friendship we started. I want to thank my constituency for bringing me here. And I want to say that coming here gives me a lot of latitude to understand Nigeria better, to understand what we stand for better, to fight more for united Nigeria. I believe that we are dispersing, not separating ourselves. I went through one of my best time in life in the Senate, and also went through one of my difficult period. Also in this Senate. Before I came to the Senate, before I came into politics, I can buy anything body can buy. I'm not a thief. Those that put me in prison, no treason, they put me in prison. They took over all my businesses and want to kill me. But I survived it. I'm in the Senate with you people. It's not the end to what we have done. It's not the end to united Nigeria. It's not the end to Brothers Keeper. But these senators I called were with me. I never lacked. When the PDP that I was governor for 2 terms was being formed, I brought every money they use in forming that party. Every penny.
I know they like me person, they cry beside me. I know they too take to start crying, and I don't like it. Orji Uzor Kalu is performing what you can call performing theater or performing art. I mean, is that what it's called when you go and study performing art or performing theater? He wants to be Senate president in the midst of other criminals who have taken their own places here and there. But he said he was the one who was funding PDP in Abia State before he became governor. And he had everything. They took everything from him, forgetting the fact that do you want me to go to his story, or you don't want me to bore you with that? Orji Uzor Kalu cries and said, Nigeria is unfair to some of them. Orji Uzor Kalu has been told, you are Igbo. We cannot give you Senate president. We don't trust you. They've said it to his face. And he's probably feeling like, if not for some of his colleagues who stood by him, he would have probably killed himself with the level of disappointment he suffered in Nigeria. This guy left PDP to join APC to still be loved. They still never show him love. I mean, I think if the story is true and not one of those propaganda they put up for us when we were growing up back then when democracy was coming on, right? Orji Uzor Kalu was a billionaire. One of the Babangida boys. He's always been a criminal. Yeah. And when democracy was coming, he was one of those they actually sent. Go back and take over your state. Go there and take this. Go there and take that. And we know what happened. 1999 to 2007. where Kalu was also one of them. They are older now. They are no longer young men. Older in the sense that they probably are now kind of looking back and saying, we had a good life, or I had a good life. I was once respected. I was once like, so probably that got to him at that point and he was like, look at me today. Watch the other part of the conversation here. Same thing, or a different image. Watch this. Where is that? Right, found it.
I went through one of my best time in life in the Senate, and I also went through one of my difficult periods. Also in this Senate. Before I came to the Senate, before I came into politics, I can buy anything body can buy. I'm not a thief. Those that put me in prison, no treason, they put me in prison. They took over all my businesses and want to kill me. But I survived it. I'm in the Senate with you people. It's not the end to what we have done. It's not the end to United Nigeria. It's not the end to Brothers Keeper. But these senators I called were with me. I never lacked. When the PDP that I was governor for 2 terms was being formed, I brought every money they used in forming that party. Every penny in 1997 and 98. And I later became a thief. And people I gave transport money from my house in VI became angels. This is what Nigeria represents. I want to thank my colleagues for giving me these 4 years of uninterrupted support. Because this country is not fair to so many of us. I built this country, I employed 13,800 workers. People employing nobody, and nobody asked them their source of wealth. I have 3 factories in Lagos, Nigeria. I have 2 factories in Ota, build manufacturing. I have 3 factories in Aba, manufacturing, and I'm a thief. And people that cannot explain where their source of wealth come from, they are not thieves. I leave everything in the hands of God. May God be the judge.
Thank you very much.
Come here, thief. Instead of him to be like this man, Kalu.
I don't read social media anymore. They abuse hell out of me. If I read it, I get high blood pressure. I get angry. I don't read it. So, if I want to hear anything, my children or any of my workers will tell me, this one say this one. If I'm tired, I say, please, forget it. I don't read social media. Alhamdulillah.
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 Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil
Amen. You should go and learn from Kalu. They watch us. They read social media because we abuse the hell out of him. Àtàwọn follower Igborere. So they watch us anymore. They read us anymore. Orji Uzor Kalu come they cry. Some said it's fake. I said no, it probably is not fake. Not fake. He had a chance to say, this country is not fair to so many of us. Baba, let's talk about being fair, or let's talk about fairness. Is Nigeria fair to you? Be honest, though. Hmm? Be honest. She Nigeria fears here. Since them born you. You don't see anything we call fear, fearness. I'm not talking about those of you that what do you call it? You are your own case is different. They have a name for you. Why do I keep forgetting all those names? They have this name for those children who are like did they call them insurance kids? No, they don't call them insurance kids. They have a name for some of you who be say you don't like anything where you are growing up. They have a name for you, but when I get it, I'll tell you. I'm not talking about you. Should Nigeria fear to anybody? But look at those Nigeria has given everything to. Orji Uzor Kalu is one of them. Your politicians in Nigeria, they are the luckiest in any part of the world. In the whole world, Nigeria politicians are the luckiest politicians in the world. And you only ask for something so simple. Basic amenities of life. Good road, good schools, good hospitals. Safe environment for yourself, for your family, for your children. Opportunities to become whatever you want to become, the greatest you want to be, and be a benefit for your. That's so the few things you're asking them for. Those are the few things they couldn't give to you. These criminals pay themselves. What they call the what's it called? Uncomfortable allowance. No, they have a name for it too. And because they have it, but what that money meant is that hardship allowance. That's the name. After being paid almost 30 million naira every month as a lawmaker, they pay them money to read newspapers. They pay them money for reading newspapers because of the hardship of being lawmakers. And that one opened his mouth when his other friends, who are other thieves, decided to decimate his proceeds of crime that they normally kind of pretend to legitimize. I employed 8,300 people. And what does that mean? And how does that change the fact that you stole over 100 billion naira from the people of Abia State? Money that could have went into good roads, if you are not stealing, good hospitals, better school for children. Even it could have served as access to education fund for the poorest children in Abia State, for them to access. The best tool you could give to them, education. So it's a pity party. And me pretending to be in, so I'm not, I don't feel pity for these criminals. No criminal, none of them who have had a chance of indeed impacting on the lives of the people. But all they impacted is pain, anguish, and all that. So if you get emotion left, if you share them for him, me, I don't get any left to share with anyone. I've got a few other things I want to share with you, but I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to, okay, you know what? Let me spend another 10 minutes with you because indeed it was meant to be part of this chat. Yesterday I told you, or did I actually showed you the former criminal, a former governor of Zamfara State who just left there. Somebody who turned Zamfara into the headquarters of Fulani terrorists, where farmers have been slaughtered because of the gold that they claim to be under their farm. Yeah. And suddenly this guy came out and he displayed some bar of gold, right? And he said, this is Zamfara gold meant for Zamfara. And he has opened a bank as well as a vault. Sorry, he has opened a vault in a bank in the United Arab Emirates, that is in Dubai. So Zamfara gold will now be sold to a bank or will be kept in a bank's vault in UAE. These Zamfara people have no clue of what he's talking about. Obviously, he's just opened a business for himself, and then, which means he could continue to take their gold and make them believe that he's saving the gold for them, not knowing that, like others, right? It is a family business now, just like the state's money became the family account and family purse, right? Now, you got defeated after 4 years of all these killings and stealing. only for you to leave the government house with over 40 cars. Like, what kind of greed actually work in the mind of these poor people with money? Because I keep saying it. A lot of you believe that money will take you out of poverty. No, money won't take you out of poverty. Because if money will take you out of poverty, listen, your criminal politicians who are amassing wealth, stealing money needlessly, money they don't need, buying things they don't need. These are the poor people's mentality. Let me take as much as possible so that I will never lack. You are stealing automobiles that are always going to go out of fashion in another few years. As a governor, he took 40 cars, over 40 cars out of government house and government buildings, and he took them for himself. Why would you do that? It's because it is Nigeria. You don't believe me? Watch this. So tell me, if it is not poverty mentality, what does he want to use 40 cars for? Government cars, government property. That is stealing. But if you meet an average Nigerian, and you want them to tell you how they feel about their politicians and what they would do if they were them, first they will tell you, or first they will accuse you and say, "But you are not sent to. If now you, won't you do more than that?" Look at Obasanjo. Obasanjo has average Nigerian. Look at Obasanjo. He has stolen the money that in 100 years' time, his children, they will never suffer. If you see Buhari, if you see Tinubu's family, Tinubu's children, for another 100 years, they will never suffer again. And when you ask them, what did they do to make such money? What kind of question is that? They will ask you. What kind of question are you asking? Is a former governor. Do you know what it means to be former governor? Or is a former president? Do you know what it means to be former president? Former Nigeria president. His family can never suffer again. Even they can never work. They don't even have to work in their life anymore because their papa was former governor, because their papa was former president. And they will tell you, Omo, if I become president, even if I just become president for 2 days, how many of you will remember this when you were growing up? Or maybe they still do now. They have ingrained poverty in our mind. They engraved it in our mind. So they, small boys, small girls in Nigeria will tell you that just to be president for just 2 days, I can never be poor again in my life. Ask him, what work are you going to do for 2 days that will set you for the rest of your life, other than stealing like a poor man who believe that money is all it takes to not be poor? Have you seen their family members? Have you seen their children? They have all the money, but they have no real value per se. They are scroungers, scavengers. They take off, they are freeloaders. They take off the system. They couldn't create wealth. They can't. They take. And a lot of you are waiting for your turn. Let us say the truth to ourselves. Forget about English. If now you, your papa become president, sure you go suffer again. Are you going to be poor again? Let's be honest, Jare, don't let us be lying to ourselves. That's the way Nigerians will tell you they have no problem with corruption. No, they don't have any problem with it. You just feel jealous when they are not the one benefiting from it. You get that? So if it is not poverty mentality, what do you want to do with 40 cars? What do you want to do with it? Eh? What do you want to do with all these houses? What did they want to do with all these houses? So many of them, they are buying outside Nigeria. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of properties outside Nigeria. They don't even live there. They are just there, just for status. And they will say, we can never be poor all over our life. They don't pay insurance. They don't pay any tax on them. It is like, yes, because I was a former governor. Why are you surprised? At least I'm still very better than the other one. If you know what the other one, if you know what they stole, you go appreciate me, say I didn't steal like them. What is 40 cars? Do you know how many cars people gave to me for free when I was governor? Then when they gave you things for free when you are governor, everything you got when you are governor was free. Why did you then have to steal? If no be saying a poverty mentality, I have to steal for my generation to come. I have to steal. When ordinary change, listen to this. So, one ordinary change in policy can render all your politicians, your billionaire former president, former this, former that, poorer than you can ever imagine. Yes, now, will be Nigeria. Anyway, so we saw that. And every time they are playing their... I wanted to tell you about the tribunal today, about what INEC also admitted, that there was rigging, manipulation, irregularities in that charade called election. But they want the court to still uphold the results. Despite all of that, we still want you to uphold it. They've started the propaganda already, where they're going to tell you to kind of, yeah, let's admit that there was rigging, or let's do government of national unity. Let's do every other thing to make us just move on. You can't move on from this. Anyway, I just won't be able to do that. Some will be like, why are you rushing? Am I going to stay? I know. You know I enjoy staying that much, right? But I kind of will have to go. But I will see you some other time. Please do me one favor before you leave. You can still like the broadcast. Don't take it personal on me that I am not letting you or letting us out all our full time. I will make it up to everyone, okay? The next time. Thank you so much for this. And I will see you some other time. So good night from here.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Mayegun ti dé o ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Mayegun já wa sí. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Bó bá ṣe eré àní Mayegun máa wí. Mayegun dayari. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Mayegun ti dé o ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube. Mayegun dayari Mayegun number one. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń pẹ̀lú kì í bó níbẹ̀ o. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Bó bá ṣe eré àní Máyégún máa wí. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Ó sì tún ṣe eré wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Máyégún Diary Diary politico. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Godfatherism kò sí lọ́rọ̀ Máyégún. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ sẹ́ o kẹgọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu o. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Àní Máyégún làwa mọ̀ tó dódòdó. Máyégún Diary náà ibi nọ́mbà wọn. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Máyégún ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Lórí Facebook. Máyégún ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Lórí YouTube. Máyégún ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Bọ́ bàbá gbé wúrẹ́. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Ijó ìgbádìyẹ. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Pẹ̀sìdó bá rúfin o. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gómìnà kówó jẹ. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Ọlọ́pàá ti ń gbà rìbá. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin o. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Òpùrọ́ olóṣèlú. Máyégún máa wí. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran. Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀ o. Máyégún ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀. Máyégún ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Oníkan ṣáàtì ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe fáwọn ará ìlú tó gbé wọn débẹ̀ o. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní má ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran. Kì máa yí ṣe eré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣe ẹ̀fẹ̀. Kì máa yí ṣe eré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣe ẹ̀fẹ̀. Ẹni bá ti lè lẹ́bọ̀ lẹ́rù o, ọmọ bá dèrò kàṣà ìtú wọn síta. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran. Tẹnitẹni ọmọ Máyégún ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni mo fọlọ́run ṣọ́ ẹ̀ bá kìlẹ́bù. Lóòótọ́ olódodo ìlú ọ̀tá ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni ìwọ ṣá máa ń ṣọ́ra kò sì mọ́ bẹ̀rù. Bọ́tà ń lè rí bóníṣègùn lé káwọn mọ̀mọ́ fi ṣera wọn ni ó ti dẹrùn tí wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ sì mọ́bẹ̀. Èèpo ọ̀bọ lọmọ bá dérò tàjẹ́ ò gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́, ó ti dọba lórí abínú ẹni kò sì mọ́ bùyà. Àìsíwọ̀lú ní ẹnìkẹ́ ìgbódì ẹyin lábàrá o, ó kó ẹni tó bá dán o àkàmù. Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ túnra kì. Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ túnra kì o. Ẹni bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe ọmọ bá dèrò òní fi wọ́n níran o.
Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ túnra kì. Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ túnra kì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.